Hey, everybody. Welcome to Getting Some Head, the podcast where I attempt to get in the big, beautiful brains of some of my closest friends and some of the people that I admire the most. And today we have a very special guest. We have Dan Soder. Dan, I got a bunch of questions for you, man. Getting some head. I want to get inside that big, beautiful brain of yours.
Yeah, dude.
So if you don't mind, I have a ton of questions. I want to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I got a ton of questions for you, and I'm going to start off.
You do. I'm looking at your clip.
Bro, I've been racking my brain all weekend between beating off the fat girl porn.
Yes.
The Pog subreddit is it's being overtaken by non-Pogs, which is another thing. But I did find time to put together some questions for you.
Yeah.
First and foremost, can you tell me about the first time where you felt successful?
Yeah, I got to buy a laptop. I never had a laptop. I missed a significant amount of internet years. From 2000, when I moved to New York, I had a desktop when I lived in Tucson. I got rid of everything I owned except 2 suitcases. And I moved to New York in 2007. And then in the fall of 2011, I got hired by Guinness to do like live shows for them. Not even stand-up, just like host live shows for them. And they gave me a check on the day that I had to go up to Connecticut to like where this marketing company was. And I like had to fill out paperwork and shit. And they're like, do you want one of your first checks? And I was like, yeah, thinking it would be maybe for like $100 or $200, which at that time I'm like, I was still drinking. So I was like, I can go get a couple beers and a pack of cigarettes. And they gave me a check for like $3,000.
Holy shit.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to go buy a laptop. Yeah. And they were like, okay. Like the lady at the company was like, what?
Now, did you have something in mind that you wanted to look up with the laptop, or you just wanted the power of a laptop?
I just wanted to look porn up. I hadn't watched porn that wasn't a DVD in years because I never had a computer. And all I heard was Apple was like, Apple will stop you from viruses.
Yes.
Apple. And Greg Stone was working at the Apple store. I barely knew him, but he's like, I bought a laptop and he saw me there. I didn't know he was there. And he left. I left and he goes, hey, he like went on break and he called me. He goes, bring your laptop back. Bring it back and get a refund. I'll buy it with my company discount.
How much of a discount was it?
Like close to like 30 or 40%.
Oh my God.
So I brought it back and just waited a day. And then I was dog sitting for Bobby Kelly. So Bobby, if you see this,
jacking off with his dogs in the room.
His dogs were downstairs, and I just jacked off on his couch. I just remember opening that fucking beautiful 13-inch screen, like logging in and everything, and then just ripping it on his couch.
Hey, what kind of dogs did he have?
2 small yippy dogs, and they were downstairs, and I was like, "Shut up, Diva! Shut up!" And then I was just, oh my God, it was great. It was great. That was fucking that, but that was like, wow. That was immediate. That was like when draft picks buy their mom like pink Rolls Royces.
I get it, dude.
That was mine. I was like, dude, I get to buy a laptop.
It's and how little it takes.
And I had cigarette money. That was like crazy.
Dude, it's nuts how little it takes when you're fucking dirt poor. I remember telling Butterly, like, it was like 4 years ago, like, not that we're fucking, on fire right now, but like, there was a time where like Tim and I were like, we would call it payday eve, where you're just counting down the hours so your direct deposit hits every other Friday. And I remember saying to Tim, we were setting goals together, and I was like, one of my goals was to be able to buy sneakers anytime I wanted and not have to wait until fucking payday.
Sick. I feel the same way. I know this is much more immature about video games. I was always like, man, if I could just if I just go to GameStop and buy a video game, that'd be fucking sick. That's still not lost on me.
Yeah.
That's still not, like, I was on the road this weekend, and I have my Steam Deck, and I just beat a game, and I was like, I want to play Spider-Man, but like I've already played it on PS4. And I was like, and I looked and they were like, oh, it's remastered for the Steam Deck for $39.99. And I was like, I was so excited. We were going to the show. I was in Burlington. We were going to the show and I met Sagalo in the hotel lobby. And I was like, I just bought Spider-Man remastered. And he was like, that's such a big download. And I was like, should be ready by the time the show's over. And it was, dude, it made, our flight got canceled on at night. Okay. We ended up having to drive back. We were going to fly back from Burlington. We ended up having to drive back, and I wasn't upset because I was playing Steam Deck all night.
Oh, dude!
And Spider-Man rips. And it was just so fun to play. I haven't played that Spider-Man in so long that it was like playing a new game. So I love that. I love having just like, I don't need a lot. If I can buy weed and video games and like afford food and rent, I'm fine. I don't. And sneakers. I've like sometimes I'll buy like sports stuff. I bought a new Nuggets hat right at the beginning of the Thunder series. And I was like, yo, this hat fucking rules. It's like of the mascot Rocky, like doing a dunk just on the front. And it got served me on an Instagram ad. And I was like, yeah, New Era. You know I'm here for it. And I bought it. And it was just, it's still like, I like to keep that part of my brain alive. Because I know it could go away. Like, I don't think a lot of comedians realize that. Like, we're in the kind of the end of the bubble. Like, it's going to start getting tough. And so I'm like trying to squirrel away as much cash so that I can just keep buying video games. And I don't buy a lot. I buy it like once every like 3 or 4 months. But yeah, that was the laptop was like my true benchmark of success. Oh, dude. I was like, I have my own laptop now.
I couldn't imagine, man. There was a time during COVID when they were just giving out free fucking money where I got an iMac, and I could not believe I was going to a store to buy something I wanted.
Yeah.
Of that value.
Yeah. I mean, I think like that's like the most communist you'll ever hear me is I feel like we should cap billionaires so other people can experience that of just like, I read an article one time where they were saying like, once you make more than your bills and you have enough to save, the difference in that and being very wealthy is very little. Like once you get past like worrying about every other paycheck or like that kind of stuff, that's why it's like, it seems weird to me that people are like cool with billionaires.
Yeah, it's the lamest shit in the world.
They're not going to spend that. Their kids are going to suck. Their grandkids are going to be even worse. For what? Like, do you think it's baller? People like billionaires because they think they're going to become a billionaire, but you're like, they don't want you in there. They don't want you at all. We should be working on everybody getting to a level where like, because all my friends that are like stressed out about money, you're kind of like, I get it. I fucking get it. And I wish I could help. I wish I had enough money that I could just turn around and go like, I got you.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. But that laptop, I still think about it. I was like, that was such a fun train ride. Because I was like, I think I might go right there.
Did you hang on to it?
I have had that laptop till fucking like 2022. I had it for like 11 years. And then it was just literally starting to shut down on me. And I was writing a script and I needed, for some reason, Final Draft wouldn't update on my computer. And I was visiting my grandmother, which before she died. And I was driving through Northern California and there was just an Apple store. Oh, my phone wouldn't charge. I had an old iPhone.
Okay.
And my shit wasn't charging. And I was like, all right, fuck it. I got to get this fixed. So I went to the Apple store and they were like, took it in the back and looked at it. And I like went by the laptops and I was like, I do need a laptop. And then I was like, this one's kind of sick. And then I just got to buy a laptop and I was like, fuck it. I'm going to get a 15-inch MacBook, which I've had now for like 4 years, and it fucking rules.
Did you start immediately on your script or did you look up something nasty?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was going to my grandma's house, so I think I didn't beat off immediately, but I think it was like, probably on the drive up, like, let's see if this fucking hotspot on my phone works. But yeah, it's always crazy to me when you get like a laptop or I always say when you buy a TV, it makes your living room feel new.
It does.
You like put a new piece of electronics in your living room and you're like, it feels like a whole new house.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something that we got. I mean, I'll be white trash the day I die, but like the dream from like birth until maybe like 25 was to have a big screen TV.
Yeah, dude. And now they're cheap.
Dude, you can get one with like $300.
Joe List, we were watching, this is a while ago, we were watching the 30 for 30 Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick interview. Yeah. I don't remember that. Very excited for it. I DVR'd it. Joe List came over as well. I was still living in Astoria. And I had like a 42-inch TV. And we were sitting on my couch. And he was like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you got a Sirius XM show and a TV show. You're on a TV show. What the fuck are we watching? And he just busted my balls so perfectly that one day coming home from the bonfire, I stopped at PC Richards and Son and I looked. I got a private gig. That's what it was. I got a private gig and they told me how much it was. And I was like, WrestleMania was coming up. And I was like, I can buy a big TV. Yeah. And I went and bought a 62-inch.
Holy shit, man.
Might have been a little smaller than that. It was either a 60 or a 62-inch, but it like Vecchione came home and he was like, what the fuck? And I was like, Dad, we got a new TV. I was like, this is sick. This is awesome. And then List came over and he was like, Dad, there you fucking go. Because we had a big living room and it was like in the corner. And he's like, now I can fucking see.
Dude, WrestleMania is the perfect event to break into TV,
dude,
man.
Bust out a new TV.
God.
And also, I used to live close to Greg Stone, Anthony DeVito, James Mattern. So I used to have a lot of people over for wrestling events when I lived in Queens. And that was fun to be like, a little different, huh? Like they came over for the Royal Rumble and it was small and I was like, look a little different than Royal Rumble, huh? And that felt great. So keep making TVs cheap because that fucking rules.
Oh, dude, that's...
People should have the feeling of buying a TV. And by the way, when I went, I knew nothing about pricing of TVs. I was expecting to pay like $3,000 for a TV.
Yeah.
I bought that TV for like $989 on sale. Sony. But still have it. Fucking rules.
Dude, I get it. Yeah, the big TV, the last one my wife and I got, we went to fucking BJ's Wholesale Club and we saw the price and then it was like $300 for, I forget, 50-some inches. And I saw it and I was like, this has to be wrong. It's like, we have to get this and get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because at some point, somebody's going to stop me like, wait a minute, poor boy.
You don't even realize that. Because and again, it's probably like white trash brain. I was like, oh, a new TV costs like $10,000.
Yep.
You go in, you're like, under $1,000? And I can get this fucking giant TV? It was nuts. I love it. I love that TV so much. It's in our living room now. Yeah, I rock with that TV.
Oh, I'm happy for you, dude.
Shout out Sony for making it affordable.
Dan, can you tell me about the worst kid from your hometown?
There's a couple kids that were real fucking bad. This one kid who I'm still kind of afraid of. I don't even know if he's alive anymore. But I'm still very afraid of Andy. I don't want to give his last name. He was a wigger in the sense of he was the first white guy I ever saw act black that I truly believe was not an act, and it wasn't for clout, and it wasn't. He just like true. I think that's truly just how he acted.
That's insane.
Being
man.
like, "Yo, what's up, dog?" Like that. Like, yeah, man, shit's fucking crazy. But he hung out with dangerous people, like very, very dangerous people. This is 100%. God, I wish I still talked to my friend Dennis. I don't talk to him anymore, but I talked to my friend Mike, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
This happened to us. He lived in a nice neighborhood. He lived in this place, Piney Creek, that was like by our high school. And Dennis and I didn't live in that neighborhood, but we would like go and stay at Mike's house all the time. This is like maybe freshman or sophomore year of high school. And we're like chilling. You know when you're like a freshman in high school, even a sophomore, you don't really have parties to go to. No one has a license. No one, like you're lucky if someone's parents are gone so you can go over there. But we were just chilling. We like literally had nothing to do. It was a Friday night. It was pretty late. We walk around his neighborhood, which was nice. And then we're like just chilling on his driveway. Just like sitting on his, like laid out on his driveway, like talking bullshit and like throwing pebbles into the street. And there was this drug dealer in our high school. I don't even know if we went to our high school. He like hung around our high school named Spider. And Spider it was a Mexican dude. He had a giant Cadillac. He had like a gold Cadillac, but it was old. It was like mid 80s Cadillac. And this is like 97, 98. And we're like chilling in the driveway. And we see like there's kind of like a busy street that goes by Mike's house. And we see that Cadillac and we go, okay. Oh shit, that's Spider's Cadillac. Everyone knew who Spider was. Mm-hmm. You were like scared of him. Even if you didn't know him personally, you were like, he was terrifying.
Had you interacted with him before?
No. People I knew, my group of friends in middle school were more bad kids than my friends in high school. And my friends in middle school knew him and fucked around with him. And Andy, like, dude, this one kid, Matt, that I was friends with in middle school, his dad was an Aurora police officer. And Matt took his dad's service gun and gave it to Andy. And Andy did dirt with it.
Oh my
God.
God.
Like came back and we were like, Matt, what are you doing? And he was just like, I think he was starting to do drugs. And he was like, whatever, man. I don't fucking. You're like, you don't give your fucking dad, who's a cop's gun to that guy. And we were just like chilling in the driveway, and the Cadillac goes by. And we saw Andy in the shotgun. It's like windows down, and we're like, I keep wanting to say his legal name, and I'm not going to because I'm still scared of this man. And we're like, yo, was that Spider with Andy? Blah? And they turned to go up my friend Joel's street. And then all of a sudden, it's a big car. Those Cadillacs are fucking big. You see him go like, woo, woo, and they do a Yui, and they start coming back down the street, and we're like, what the fuck are they doing? And again, there's like a busy street. Yo, these motherfuckers go across the busy street over up onto Mike's fucking driveway. And we're like, no. And we fucking turn. We jump his back fence and go around to the back of his house. Dude, we get into his house and he shuts the door and locks it, and fucking Spider and Andy are there. Not like they didn't drive up on the driveway just to scare us. They fucking hopped the fence and tried to get into Mike's house.
Do you think
I
that
promise you, I will bring.
Something?
If you're listening to this and you're like, this sounds made up, I'm gonna do a podcast with McDaniel at some point in the off season this year. I will bring this story up to him so he can show you that I'm not lying about this at all. Motherfucker, we shut the sliding glass door and locked it, and these two motherfuckers were right there. We're like, ah, and we just fucking ran. And then Mike's stepdad was like, what the fuck's going on? And then they were gone, and then we heard the car, you like through the front window, we like saw the car fucking pull out of the driveway and leave. Never spoke to him about it. Never was talked to about it. That's it. That kid was the scariest motherfucker because he would just dude, there were stories his dad was a Vietnam vet, and there were stories that when him and his dad would get upset, he would take books and slam them on the ground and go, incoming! And then slam a stack of books. And his dad had like heavy PTSD. And his dad would be like, and like, I don't know. It was just, dude, one time I threw a house party. My mom was at her boyfriend's house a lot my senior year, and she was gone. I was taking this girl from a different school to homecoming, and it was clear she didn't like want to fuck me or anything. So I like was mad. I was in love with her, and I dropped her off at her house after I took her to my fucking homecoming. Which, by the way, like 2 weeks before, she goes, I should tell you I'm dating someone in my high school. It's like, well, fucking, why did you say yes to my homecoming? I drop her off. I'm mad. I'm like fucking mad, like incel mad.
Like drive on McDaniel's fucking alley.
Yeah. I'm going to drive up his fucking
driveway.
I come home, and my friends were having a party at my house, and I knew that. I was like, have a party. I'll come back, and we'll fucking, thinking I was going to bring her back, and she'd be like, oh my God, it's so cool. And then we'd fuck. Not what happened. I fucking go to my front door. My front door's locked. And I gave my friend the key because they were going to go on a liquor run and come back. And I'm just like fucking banging on my door. Like, yo, what the fuck? And I'm mad. I'm so mad because I'm not getting pussy. And also like, I can't get in my own house. This motherfucker Andy opens my door. He just opens my front door, and I just said his full name.
Can I help you?
Yeah, he's like, what's up, dog? He's like, what? No, I think he was like, what y'all fucking banging on here for? And I was like, I live here. And he goes, oh, what's up? Not like, oh, my bad.
Yeah.
He's like, what's up? And then he's like, let me in. And I was like,
you need some?
And I immediately find my friend Joey, and I'm like, why'd you fucking Andy?
Oh, dude.
Why'd you let him in? And he's like, yo, he came over with people. And then we were at a house party like a couple months later, and like a shooting busted out that he was at. Like, that dude, just bad shit followed that dude. He was the worst kid.
Dude, that's a tough, hard wigger name, Andy. Like you, I think that might help ingrain it in you because your back's against the wall.
Oh yeah, what's up, Andy? This is way before Toy Story, so you couldn't even call him Andy.
Oh, you got a friend in me, motherfucker?
Oh, yeah, motherfucker. But he hung out with scary motherfuckers.
Did he go by Andy when he was in the streets?
Yeah. I was going to give his last. I keep wanting to give his last name, but if you went to Smoky Hill High School, you know who I'm talking about. That's why that Chappelle joke hit so hard on Killing Them Softly. Let me tell you something about them white motherfuckers in them group. They're the scariest motherfuckers in them group because you have no idea what they've done to get those black dudes respect.
Dude.
I mean, me and my friends watching that were howling, being like, that's Andy.
Yeah.
He's talking about Andy.
Yeah.
Because you would just see like a group of fucking thugs, and Andy would be with them, and he was very comfortable. Yeah, he was like skinny too. I think he could.
They always are, man.
Fight. He could fucking fight. That I knew.
Do you think that came from his dad whipping his ass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guarantee his father was abusive. I guarantee his father was abusive because you don't want to trigger your dad's PTSD for the lulz unless he's like beat the shit out of you your whole life and you're finally like, oh, I know how to get back at you.
Yeah.
But man, they would tell me that story. I was like, oh fuck, this guy's a psycho. Yeah, he was scary as fuck.
Yeah.
Him hopping up on that fucking driveway. We didn't believe it. We were like, no. And then it fucking rolled up. We're like, all right. It was crazy.
How often do you picture his face?
Not often. When we brought that up, though, it got brought up. He was a white dude, and he used to use that Jerry curl shit. Soul Glow. Not Soul Glow, but what is it? The shit black people put in their hair. What's it?
Soul Glow is the only brand I recognize.
Soul Glow is like from Coming to America,
Yes.
but there's this stuff. It comes in. Fucking black people are like, you can't even remember this. He used it. Afro Sheen.
Okay.
He used Afro Sheen.
Spray bottle or
Like he would like put it like I remember a black girl in my class going like that motherfucker Andy be using Afro Sheen on some white ass hair, and I was like, oh, does it not work on white hair? Like, me just being like, well, I don't know.
what kind of hair did he have? Did he have bangs?
No, he would slick it. It would be slicked back. It would always hard slicked,
That's
hard
terrifying.
shelled. Yeah, dude, that dude. And he always had a giant starter jacket on.
I'm picturing Wigger Count Chocula for some reason.
Kind of. He was blonde. I would look him up, dude, but I just, God bless him. I hope he's okay.
He's probably not there.
No, no, he's not. No, but he was so scary. God, he scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, our irreparable Wigger was a kid who ended up attacking his girlfriend's dad with a hammer.
Nice.
And he permanently disabled her uncle and killed her father.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then he ratted on all his boys to make it seem like it was their idea.
Oh, piece of shit.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be a psycho, at least take the
I
fucking
know.
rat.
For the girl, man. You gotta stick it out.
That must have been good pussy though.
I could not imagine attacking a man with a hammer for pussy, man.
For that good a pussy.
And I never found out who she was, but now that you say that, I have to look her up.
Oh yeah, I bet it was
Yeah.
great.
Mm-hmm.
It was out of his range, and he knew it was slipping away.
That's got to be the worst part as the dad is you're being beaten to death with a hammer, knowing how good your daughter's pussy is
you
for
go,
somebody to do
"Oh,
this.
Damn, her mom used to throw it back too, so I get it. Must run in the blood. Because her mom had Her mom had hammer to the face pussy. This is funny when you're hammering someone and you go like, why am I doing this? I always feel like crimes of passion. You would like after a while, you're like, I don't really care that much.
But that's got to be a mitigating circumstance. Like juries have to take into consideration
Yeah.
pussy.
Be like, how good was that pussy?
Yeah.
They go, we gotta let him off.
Got to
man.
let the jury smell it.
Yeah. He goes, ooh, did you have one of those little necklaces that goes around the hips? And you go, yeah. You go,
Let the record reflect that Andy is letting the jury smell his fingers.
oh, that's some killable pussy. Oh, that's some pussy you kill for. Yeah, dude, that's fucking a hammer. To someone's dad is wild behavior.
Yeah, one of the guys that he did it with was also a pretty hard wigger. It still might be. I haven't kept up, although I haven't kept up with him. What's that?
We're experiencing old wiggers for the first time.
They're living longer. It might be a byproduct of global warming.
It is.
Because I didn't think
The winters
this was
don't
present.
kill them off like they used to.
Because they didn't used to live this long, and now they're just fucking selling fucking fake Ralph Lauren polos on Facebook at 35.
I told the story on the bonfire, but I went to a 49ers Lions game in Detroit.
Oh God,
And I
yeah.
was sitting in front of this guy, and this guy was like, he just kept going. Oh, y'all running the ball like high school. Oh, y'all running the ball like high school. That's what he kept saying. Damn, y'all don't even want to throw the ball. Y'all throwing the ball. Y'all running the ball like high school. And I was like, this old black dude will just not shut the fuck up about running. And I looked and I was like, old white guy. Wild. Blew me away. I'm very good at guessing people's races by their voices.
Detroit will fool you, dude. I was
Got
there.
me.
I was there Friday to Saturday, fucking 2 days ago, and the first thing within being there for 4 hours. This was my second time. I didn't really pay much attention last time, but being there for 4 hours this trip, I was like, they're going to have Wigger Jurassic Park here.
It is. Yeah, they're like, welcome
Yeah.
to Wigger Park. And I, I see you. I see you by that electrical fence, dog.
They're growing flap rims.
Oh, my God. Look at that. They haven't removed the tag. The guy knows every Jules Santana lyric. No one knows that except Wiggers. Yeah, it's wild. Detroit is a wild fucking city.
Yeah, Wigger heaven, man.
It's great. I love Detroit, though.
Yeah, I can't
If
wait
I
to go back.
wanted to fuck off, I think I would just go buy one of those dilapidated houses.
Oh, God.
and redo it,
Yeah.
and then just live there.
Dude, just imagine just setting up your game system in there on a fucking 60-inch TV with the fucking roof flapping off the
yeah,
top.
dude, with just a hole where a chimney was. They have some cool fucking houses that are completely run down. But Detroit rules.
You can get them for $1, man.
Rock City, baby.
Dan, what's your most vivid memory of being poor?
I grew up pretty lucky. I grew up with a mom that was like a Murphy Brown type. You know, she was like corporate. She was like one of those 80s ladies on the go, that they always were marketing to. It was 100% my mom. single mom, but just was like smart, worked real hard, worked in an Aetna forever, and then worked at a couple other insurance companies. Mm-hmm. So we were never like poor. My dad was poor. My dad and my grandma was all right, but my dad was just an alcoholic living off my grandma, so he was poor. But my mom was like toughing it out. Like money was always an issue. But we weren't poor. Okay. We were like, truly, what I feel bad for now is we were middle class. Like I don't think that exists anymore. Like I lived in a middle class suburb. Everyone's parents worked 1-2 jobs. But occasionally one kid would get Jordans or one kid would get a new bike, but not everybody, like it wasn't this thing where everybody was doing well. And my mom did pretty good, but again, single mom, fighting out of bankruptcy, raising a kid. So we were like middle class suburbs. But I'd go visit my dad and it'd be like, oh, you guys are like well below the poverty line. Mm-hmm. My grandma was like keeping stuff from Social Security and like kind of her retirement that she saved. But my dad was living in like squalor. When he didn't live with my grandma, he lived in like a trailer park or like an apartment complex that was like real rough. Mm-hmm. So when I'd go stay with him, especially when I was really young, I'd always be like, oh, fuck, like this is crazy. But then when I moved to college, when I was 18, my mom's like, you're out of the house. You're not my responsibility anymore. Mm-hmm. She said that from the time. She said that because my dad lived with my mom so much. And I always, when I was growing up, thought that was pathetic. I always was like, yeah, that's fucking weak that he lives with Nana. Why doesn't he live by himself? I also didn't like that my grandmother like let my dad fuck up and just was like, yeah, you can live with me. Mm-hmm. Like, he's like, no, you should have boundaries. Like you should tell your son abandoned 2 families. Mm-hmm. Like just straight up dipped. You should not let him move in with you. Mm-hmm. If your daughter is in Los Angeles and your son is in Denver, you should probably do something about it. Like live by one of them at least. Mm-hmm. Which my mom was like very vocal with my dad. She was like, don't leave Colorado because then you won't be in his life. And my dad was like, that's not true. Then he moved to San Francisco and I barely saw him. But when I would see him, I'd see it like real poor. But my mom was like, when you're 18, you're done. Like you graduate high school, you're out of the house. But I was going to college. So my mom was like, all right, I'm going to give you the summer and you can move to Tucson. And then from that point on, I was so poor that it didn't end until I got that Guinness job. Like the Guinness job of buying that laptop was the moment I was like, I don't think I'm poor anymore. Like I think I remember opening for Nate Bargatze on the road and we were at an ATM and his ATM receipt, they had $1,600 in savings. Nice. And I was like, y'all are fucking rich. Mm-hmm. Like my account was like $30. Yeah. And I was like, you have $1,600? He's like, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. Especially Nate, who's like a cajillionaire now. But I remember my mom couldn't help me out financially, but she would do small things like send me like 6 cans of Dinty Moore stew. Oh. And I'd be like, all right, this rocks. Because now I got
6 meals.
I got 6 meals. Yeah. And I would do this thing. But the moment I remember being the poorest was picking which sandwich at Subway I would want to eat for dinner and lunch the next day. So I'd buy a foot long and it was always teriyaki chicken or the Southwestern chicken. And I would get 6-inch, eat it for dinner with half the chips, then fold the chip bag up with the other 6-inch and the half of a fucking pink lemonade and put it on my side of the refrigerator and be like, well, there's dinner for tomorrow night. And then I would see whatever I could get from the restaurant I was working at. So sometimes I would get caught by my managers taking like 3 to-goes of staff meal, which is just like chicken and rice. Mm-hmm. But I'd just put it, and then I'd put it in a bag by the door, and then they'd be like, whose is this? And I'd be like, I think it was one of the porters. I don't know. But that was the moment where I was like, damn, this is fucking hard. Just knowing, I remember I was in credit card debt because I got a credit card in college, and I ran it up, and I never paid it. And I remember like, this moment of having no money and the credit card company being like, you have to give us money. And I was like, I don't have anything. And they're like, well, then we can just, I forget what it is. Like, we'll just close it out. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I can maybe give you $100 a month. And they were like, well, you're going to have to, or else it's going to become like a legal problem for you. Mm-hmm. And I remember just being at that moment like, oh, fuck, I'm fucked. Like, I'm fucked. I was waiting tables. But I couldn't make good money waiting tables because waiting tables at night was the good money, and I was doing bar shows and open mics, and I was like in New York. Even though there was a moment I got hired by a radio station. I got hired by K-Rock within the first 3 months I worked here, and that was a union job, so that was pretty good. After it was like pretty good for union. I was making like $250 a shift. So I was like, damn, that's fucking crazy. But that was how I got my apartment because I was living on my friend's couch. Mm-hmm. So because of that good job, I was able to get this apartment in Astoria, which I lived in a windowless room for $625 a month. And then I had 2 roommates who had the regular bedrooms. And I lived in that windowless room for 8 years. That didn't bother me. I didn't give a fuck about the windowless room. Once I got in the apartment, I was like, oh, I got this K-Rock job. Now I can start stacking cash. And then pretty soon after that, it was like, I think maybe less than 7 months later, they're like, we're flipping to top 40. You guys are all fired. And you're like, yeah, fuck. And then I was back to being very poor because I was only working at the restaurant and whatever comedy gigs I could get. And it was bad. It was like, I think I did the math. I was making, I had to make $500 a week to survive. And at the restaurant, I was making like $450 to $5.
Fuck, dude.
So there would be weeks where it's like real tough, bumming a lot of cigarettes off people. Mm-hmm. And then there was times where it was like, there's times where I had no money and I bought cigarettes. And I was like, how the fuck did that happen? Because cigarettes were like still at this time, like $10 a pack. And you're like, how the fuck was I doing that? But I found a way. Just found a way to survive. That's what being young and poor is great about, is you just find a way, as opposed to like being older and poor, where you're like, I need stuff like medicine and comfort. Like I was like, I just get stuff. Like someone would give away a broken couch and I'd be like, we got a couch.
Oh, dude, the stinky couch, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that was a staple. I was just talking to Butterly about this. There was a summers. It was the year before we had kids. And I worked at a school, so I could have summers off if I wanted to.
Sure.
And I had no ambition, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stay off all summer and play GTA 3 had come out, I think the year prior.
Shout out.
And I didn't have any furniture. And our apartment was empty other than the TV and my PS2. My sister's like, do you want my couch? I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And it just smelled like cigarettes and probably her pussy.
Yeah.
It was the fucking worst,
why is it
man.
musky?
Dude. But it was a couch, and it was like I could play games, and I didn't have to do anything else.
We had this couch where the middle, it was those 3 parts, like the 3 seats. The middle one was broken and collapsed.
From fucking?
Whoever knows. I don't even know how we got it. But we would stuff like throw pillows in the middle and then put a pillow over it to make it like, so it was like
that
stuffed
works.
And then over it. That was second to me buying a laptop. Was when I got hired on Guy Code on MTV. I was like, yo, I'm going to buy a couch. Astoria's got a ton of furniture stores. And I bought a couch. And I remember Vecchione coming home and being like, what the fuck? And I was like, how great of a couch is this? And he's like, this is unbelievable. I think we like wanted to spend the night because it was a sectional. Yeah. It was like a big L couch. I think we were both like, should we sleep out here tonight? This is fucking incredible. We were both like, and when I got to kick my 3rd roommate out, that was awesome.
Oh,
when I got to be like, I can finally afford to live in a room with windows.
Yeah.
And then I just lay in bed and look out the window. I was like, this is incredible. Because when you live in a windowless room for 8 years, it fucks with you.
I couldn't imagine, man.
You just like, you turn off the lights and it's very dark. It's very like forgotten dark. But yeah, dude, I just remember that couch.
Dude, getting that couch. That's a big deal, man. Because, I mean, historically, I mean, for us, like, it was a series of hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
And even like, when I was able to get our most recent couch, which was, I think, last summer, there was still that tinge of thinking that, like, okay, this is on credit. Somehow this is not going to go through.
Yeah,
somehow this is going to fall through.
This.
Yeah, again. And I feel like nothing angers me to the point of feeling like I'm poor again. If there's any kind of reminder of that, I'm just like, I'm going to chimp out right now.
Yeah, but I think a lot of just chimp the fuck out, dude. I think there's a lot of people that keeping that alive is good for them. I think I'm one of them. I really, really like being tied to being appreciative. Like being like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I said that to Katie before I left today. I was like, how crazy is it? All I have to do today is podcast with Mike Rainey, write my cartoon for Fox, and then go do stand-up. And it's like, none of this is work. Dude, I can't complain about any of this.
I said the same thing to her. Like we got here like an hour early, and we were walking around the block, and we were just holding hands. It's a fucking sunny 74-degree day.
Perfect day.
And like we've been through, especially with my drug and alcohol shit, I put her through the fucking ringer.
Oh yeah, dude. I remember when you were on my podcast, dude. You have some fucking story. You put her through some shit,
dude. And she's an angel, man. And I thank my fucking lucky stars that we're still together. So to be able to fucking show up to do this, like somebody that I've admired for so long, but dude, it's not lost on me.
Yeah, I think that's like, I think more people in the public eye need to be loud about that, because I think that would, as a fan, I'm just talking from my perspective as a fan of like, whether it be a band or a comedian or something, when I feel like they're not appreciative, there's something about it that makes me resent them a little bit, right?
Yes.
Like, man, fuck you, you're not perfect. It happens to all successful people, but I think the ones that stayed kind of tied to the like being appreciative, that I always love that with bands, when you could tell they're very like, hey, thank you, even if it's a giant stadium, and they're like, thank you guys so much for coming out. This is like Queens of the Stone Age has always felt like that to me. Whenever I'm at a Queens of the Stone Age show, I'm always like, I can tell these motherfuckers really appreciate that we're here jamming with them.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's just something that should always be a speed of anybody you watch perform anything. Is you're like, we're here together.
Yeah.
This isn't, because sometimes, Chappelle's my favorite comedian of all time, but I think he's completely detached and insulated. So I think he's just around yes men. And then he starts believing like, well, I'm a god among men. And you're like, not really. You're just a guy that's very talented at something. So I don't watch him anymore, because I don't want to watch him. Because I go like, I'm not here to bask in your glory. I'm here because you were the funniest human being that's ever made.
Yeah.
But you lose touch. People lose touch. That happens to a lot of people. I'm very proud of Shane for staying in touch as much as he does.
Yeah, he's the man.
He calls me a lot. And when we talk, I'm always like, I go out of my way to tell him that. I go, I can see you fighting to stay who you are, and I really appreciate that as your friend.
There was something, my friend Naeem Ali.
I love Naeem.
He's the fucking best. He was on the road with Shane. He's like, you'd be stunned at how rude people can be toward him, and he's still accommodating to people.
Dude, it's crazy. People walk up to him at hotels and they just go, sign this. Not even like, hey, I'm a big fan. Not like, I fuck with the podcast or fucking love tires. They're just like, sign this. And it's just like 6 different things.
Yeah.
And he's hungover sometimes. And so you're just like, dude, it just fucking sucks. But he's the man, dude. He was making me laugh so hard. I did a bunch of shows with him on the road for his arena tour. And there's like this like tunnel that goes out from backstage. So you can watch the show. Because if there wasn't a tunnel, you'd be standing there and people in the stands would be like, oh, fuck, Shane's watching the show. And they'd be like distracted from whoever's opening. So they do this really good job of like having this tunnel. And I was opening for him and Shane just came up to me and he goes, I just wanted to do a Thursday at Helium. This is getting out of control. And it's just sold out 18,000 people. And you're like, yeah, fuck, it just made me laugh so hard. Because that's very much Shane. That's just like who I've known the whole time. He's like, I just wanted to do a fucking Wednesday at Helium. This is getting crazy. And you're like, yeah, dude, fucking go do it. But I like that. I like seeing people stay connected to who they are. I think Bill Burr's done a good job of that. There's like other guys that you can tell that have been very successful that you're like, you're still kind of connected to that appreciation of being able to do this.
Yeah, there was when I went to go see Gin Blossoms years ago, it was maybe like 10 years after they were at the top.
Yeah.
They were doing like the Eagles had like a fucking season kickoff party at the Link. It was outside the Link. So it was like maybe.
Oh, what's that cable place? That
Xfinity?
The Xfinity, yeah.
It was outside of there. I don't even know if that was built yet, but it was like, it might have actually been on the ground where that one now is. And it was like me, my buddies, and like, 300 fucking ladies with fucking disastrous C-section scars who have no contact with their kids anymore, just partying. But it was the Gin Blossoms. They had so many great hits. And at the time, me and my buddies put together, we each put a 10-minute set on a CD and had them printed because we were just so happy to be doing stand-up.
Sure.
And while they're singing, they were singing Follow You Down. I threw the CD on stage. And I forget the lead guy's name, Robin something. He picks it up and he goes, for me? I was like, yeah. He goes, thank you.
Oh,
and then he went
awesome.
back to singing. And it was the coolest shit ever.
Follow you down. He's right back into it. That's fucking sick. I love that, man. I think it's like, because of Shane, Big J and I were opening for him in Salt Lake City. Big J, James McCann, and I were opening for Shane. And Post Malone was there because he's friends with Shane. He's just like the nicest guy, like a real guy.
Seems like it.
We were like, holy shit, dude. It's crazy. You're just like, by the end of the night when we're in the green room, it doesn't feel like a major recording artist is there. You're just like, oh, it's his buddy.
Yeah.
That's my friend's friend, Austin. And he's just ripping Bud Lights with my, calling each other gay. It was fucking awesome. I love that. I love when people are like, extremely talented and stay regular. I think that's really cool. When they're like, whatever. I just do that, you know? And you're like, fuck yeah.
Was that something that you were always conscious of, or does it come natural to you?
What do you mean?
Like you're accommodating to everybody who asked you for stuff. Like,
yeah, I think that's just wanting to be liked.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's like growing up feeling very, very alone and feeling like no one wants to be around you. So you just appreciate those that do.
Yeah.
We're just like, that was big for me. My sister was like that. I think my mom was very busy. We've worked through our issues, but I think my dad just straight up didn't want to be in my life. And I think that's like a hard thing for a boy to work through. It's because you're kind of like, I was getting like gaslit by him.
Yeah.
Like I'd hang out with my dad and he'd be like, dude, you're the best. I love you. You're like my best friend. This rules. I love you so much. And you're like, right? This is great. And then a year without talking to him. And you're like, oh, you like miss my birthday and Christmas and stuff. And he's like, yeah, but I still love you. And you're like, oh shit. So I think that just makes you go like, no one wants to be around me. No one wants to hang out with me. I think I was annoying to my mom and I was abandoned by my dad because my mom was the only, it was me and her. Like my half sister was 12 years older than me and lived in California. It was just my mom and I. So, I would have these like manic bursts where I want to be funny and I'm like being funny, but it would annoy my mom. She had a long day. She's like, what voices are you doing at me? And you're like, all right, well, this sucks. And he was like, walk into another room. And I think as I grew up, I was always like really appreciative of people that are like, yeah, I'll listen to you. It's why I'm very bad at podcasting. Because I think like I just want to be funny all the time. And so when a funny thought comes in my head, I'm not like, wait for them to stop, set it up. I just go like, bah! It just like comes out of me. But I think that's because of how I grew up, where I just felt like I was always annoying someone.
Did you have a friend all throughout childhood, or were there periods where you were just friendless and just in that situation?
I always had friends. I always had friends, but I don't ever feel like I had like middle school, McDaniel was probably one of my first true best friends where I was just like, I can always go hang out with him. He always wants to hang out. But in high school, we kind of drifted apart. And I started hanging out with this group of guys that I'm still best friends with, that are still very, very close to me. There's 6 of them. And that was the first group of friends where I was like, oh, I'm accepted. Like, these guys are my friends. They're not like hanging out with me because of X, Y, or Z. They're just like my buddies. And I think that's what accelerated my sense of humor, was I was just like, oh, you guys get me. I can be funny. You guys aren't trying to be cool. There was a group of my friends in high school that wanted to be cool. And then there was my best friends that were just kind of like, I don't know. You guys want to go watch, fucking Crash at Zach's house? And you're like, yeah, let's go fucking smoke resin and watch Fight Club. It was just kind of like, I was just kind of felt like I was around my buddies. And so that really helped in high school, especially like my junior and senior year. I think that was like huge that I had those guys around me.
Did you maintain contact with all those guys as you moved on to college?
Yeah. I think we're all meeting up in August. We're going to go spend a weekend in Colorado together.
Oh, sick,
like up
dude.
in the mountains. One of my buddies has a house in the mountains and he like rents it out or whatever. But he's like, I'll clear it out for us. And I was like, dude, do that. Because there's 6 of us. 2 of us don't have kids and aren't going to have kids. And the 4 of them have like multiple kids.
Yeah.
So I think like the ones who don't have kids, both of us live in New York. The ones that do all live in Colorado. And we were going to do a trip and we're like, you guys have kids.
Yeah.
We get it. Get a babysitter, tell the wives you're going to watch them for a week and then we'll come out and we'll go up there. So that's great. My friend Zach is really good at being like, hey, we should all meet up. It's been a while since we've hung out. And it's like, great. Because then you get it back and you're like, oh, this is the exact same dynamics we always had.
Oh, dude, that's sick, man.
Yeah. And they've been to like every special taping, every like, I'm doing the Paramount Theater in Denver, October like 3rd or 4th. And I just know they'll all be there, if I leave them a ticket or not, I know they'll be there. So that's what's fucking awesome.
Dude, there's a lot that you say that resonates with me because not the same situation, but there are things like the parental neglect thing. And it's like, I think that's part of like why my wife and I bond so much is because like, we're just like, do our parents like, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing wrong here?
I think specifically the baby boomer generation had a specific parenting style that wasn't good. And it was passed down to them from the Greatest Generation.
Yeah.
Because the Greatest Generation comes back from World War and Great Depression, and they're kind of like, just eat your vegetables and, and don't rape. It was like stuff, like the most basic commands. And I think the baby boomer generation, I don't think history is going to be very kind to. I think they're one of the most selfish generations of all time. I also think Gen X you guys are really being pussies and not taking the power away from the baby boomers. We should have a president that's in his 50s or 60s, not 70s or 80s. Take the power back, Gen X. You got to smoke inside and dance, you got to live it up. You got grunge, golden age of rap, and you didn't take the power. Public Enemy told you, fight the power. And you were like, no, mom and dad got this. But I think baby boomers specifically are, I talked to my mom about this, and she's great because she'll admit fault. Where I go, I just think you guys are a very selfish generation. I think they were very they got to be hippies. They got to have abortion legal. And then they got to do all this stuff, drugs. They got to fuck around. And then they got older and they're like, well, we can't do drugs anymore. So we got to make them illegal. Let's do the war on drugs. And then they were like, we got to, and now they're all MAGA Trump lovers on fucking Facebook when you're like, didn't you go to Woodstock? And they're like, but these damn Mexicans. And you're like, it's just the most fried fucking generation. And their parenting style was kind of like, well, it's about me. Mm-hmm. Everything was like, well, my kid plays baseball and I'm the coach. Or so-and-so, but I do this. And it's like, well, just let us have our own fucking lives. And they weren't really there for us. They didn't I know that generations after were mocked for being soft on parenting, which I do believe is quasi-true. But the baby boomer generation just kind of felt like, you're annoying me, leave me alone. They were the last of kids should be seen and not heard.
Yes.
And that's going to fuck your kid up. Because your kid goes, my uncle just sucked my dick. And they go, I don't want to hear it. We're going to Jimmy Buffett. And you go, all right, well, then when I'm doing heroin at 25, you're going to wonder where this came from. I tried to talk to you about this. I tried to talk to you about getting sloppy top from Uncle Rob. And you don't want to fucking talk, you know what I mean? And so I just think it's a lot of guys, people born mid-70s to early 90s experienced a lot of similar parenting styles, which was there but not there.
Yeah. And dude, the gaslighting shit you talked about is I think that's probably, not even probably, but definitely worse than the neglect. Because it's
dude,
it's what are you doing?
Dude, I truly thought I thought my mom was a cunt. I truly listened to my dad and my grandmother all through my childhood being like, yo, we want to see you. She's, Mom won't let you see us. And I'm brutal, like, dude. You're my best friend. Why can't I see my best friend? And my mom would be like, I would go home and my mom would be like, your dad's a drunk and a liar and he doesn't pay child support. And I'd go, you're a cunt. And then in my 30s, I was like, oh no. Yeah. She was the good parent. She parented me. I wouldn't be who I was without my mom. Yeah. I had this moment with, I took my fiance to meet my grandmother, 2021. And I took her out there and I've always loved, my grandma's dead. I love her, she's my grandma. But I took Katie out there and she was like, "Is your grandma always gaslight you like that?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "She makes it seem like you're a bad grandson when you pay all her bills, you take care of her, you actively fight Showtime to get out here for Thanksgiving." And she just she'd always be like, "Oh, you're leaving?" Oh. And then I'd go to Colorado, see my mom, and she'd be like, "How many days are you out there for?" And I'd be like, 5. And she'd be like, "I wish you'd spend 5 days here." And I'd have to tell her, your town sucks. And I don't have anybody everybody I love died in your town. My dad, my aunt. I don't need to go back to your town. My town, Denver, has my friends who have kids now who I don't see ever. My grandmother was really, really good. And then there was this moment where I had the epiphany and we were packing and I was like, damn, I'm my mom's son. These people didn't fucking raise me at all. My mom raised me. And Katie was like, I feel like I'm coming into the 30th season of a show and there's a huge reveal. And I go, there is. She's the bad guy. My grandma's the bad guy. And I had no idea because she was a cotton-haired old woman who would just do these things where she would go well, I wish we could see you, but your mom. She'd do that to my sister. My dad abandoned my sister flat out. And then I would be like, well, why wasn't dad around for Michelle? And she'd go, her mom. I'm friends with her mom. My sister died 20 years ago. Or, yeah, close. And I still talk to her mom all the time because we had different moms. But I love her mom. Her mom's awesome. Her mom was my dad's high school sweetheart. So I talk to her all the time. I'm like, what was my dad like? I find out who my dad was through her. Because my mom dated my dad in their 30s. So I didn't know who my dad was when he was young. But Billy, my sister's mom, has been awesome. She comes to all my shows. They live in the Pacific Northwest. When I'm up there, they're like, hey, can we come see they were at my last special taping. Like, crazy supportive. Crazy supportive, crazy awesome. And my grandma would just shit on her. And she'd be like, yeah, she wouldn't let him back. I know, Billy. I don't think that's true. And as I got older, I was like, oh, you're lying to yourself. Because if you take the accountability that you need to take, you'll realize you let your son abandon 2 families and kill himself with alcohol. Like, that'll have to come in.
Yeah.
If you open that door, it's all coming in.
Dude, and my wife and I talk about this often. It's like, I think I don't know that they're incapable of doing it, but it's like the threat of that realization, it's almost too much. It's incomprehensible, especially like when you get older. I cannot imagine being in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s where it's just like, you're not going to face that.
No. And you know what's funny is my therapist was very much like, you have to confront her. Mm-hmm. You have to confront her. Because I confronted my mom, and that changed our relationship. Mm-hmm. I had when I first got into therapy, I was still drinking. You know, I've been in therapy like 14 years now. And my therapist was like, you're never going to have a real relationship unless you confront your mom and tell her that there's like boundaries and that you need your own life. And that was very fucking hard.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in the windowless room and I like waited for Vecchione and our old roommate Pete. It was like in the evening and they both had to go do stuff. And it was like waiting, like when you were a teenager to wait to jerk off. Your mom's like, I'm going to the store. And you're like, how long? My roommate was like, I got to go somewhere. And I was like, how long? Uh-huh. And he's like that. And I was like, all right. And I called my mom and I was like, hey, this isn't easy. Sit down. And we just talked, cried, yelled. It was like an hour, 90-minute conversation. Completely changed our relationship. I fucking love my mom. And I can talk to her now in such an honest way where I go like, hey, you're being a little much right now. And she'll be like, absolutely. We're adults.
That's very cool, man.
We're adults who discuss issues, which is, I love her. My grandmother was in her late 80s, and my therapist is like, confront her. And you're like, no, she's 88. I'm not confronting an 88-year-old woman. But there was a moment where I had a line in the sand where I was visiting my grandmother, and we were just like watching the news or something, and my grandmother like said something, and she goes, your dad was such a good dad. Oh, but we brought up my dad. It was like about the 49ers, and we were like talking about something, and she goes, your dad was such a good dad. And I go, was he? And she's like, what? And I go, he wasn't a good dad. He abandoned his daughter, then he abandoned his son. He wasn't a dad at all. So no, I don't think I can let you say he was a good dad. And my grandmother just goes, he wasn't. And you're like, all right, that's all I need. Yeah. I don't need to confront you anymore. And immediately, you know, I'm like, hey, what are we having for dinner, Nana? You know, you don't want to like stay in it. But I got that from her. And I was like, so you fucking did know. That's all I need to know. Yeah. I needed to know that you knew.
Yeah.
That this motherfucker fucked over 2 families. And that felt great.
Dude, that shit's vital. Like, both my parents died in February. And
Jesus, I'm sorry.
Thanks, dude.
Back to back?
They got to see the Eagles, white cornerback,
that's
run
so
back, pick
funny.
6 at the Super Bowl, so it's not that bad.
I can go to heaven. White dudes are going pick 6.
Yeah, go see Pop.
Yeah, you go, Cooper DeJean. Thank you for releasing me.
Yeah, I wonder how many fucking white boomers in the Philly area died within weeks of the Super Bowl.
Picking off a black quarterback. I never thought I would live this long to watch a black get picked by a white. Yeah, Cooper DeJean. I'm surprised Jay and Shane didn't buy Cooper DeJean jerseys because I told them to when they drafted him. Yeah. I was like, you guys got a white corner. Fucking get a jersey.
Yeah, we buried my father in a golden DeJean jersey.
I love it.
But dude, it's. I think you just know when some people are about to die. And my parents, they were both shit in the bed around the same time. And when my dad started going down, I went over to check on him. I mean, my mom was fucked up too, but I had a lot of deep-seated animosity towards my mom because like she was more neglectful to me, my wife, and my kids, but like spent a ton of time with my sister and her kids.
Yeah,
and I knew she was going to be dead soon.
Real tough.
It was just like, what the fuck?
What's wrong with my kids, and what is it wrong with her kids?
Right? Yeah, and that's what it was.
Did your kids ever bring that up?
They did, yeah. And then I kind of like pushed it aside because like I wasn't sure if I really wanted them to be around my kids a lot. But because it seemed like it was getting towards the end, I was like, I have to say something because this really fucking bothers me and it bothers them. And I confronted my mom, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
Oh, dude, it is fighting the schoolyard bully times 1,000.
Yeah.
You go like, you have no idea. The shadow of your parents in your brain.
My hands were sweating. And
how'd it go?
The conversation itself went pretty well. She listened, which is all I wanted from her. And I was very, careful with the words that I chose.
Sure.
And she was like, I was like, you don't have, just call them and say you love them or text them. And then eventually she was just like, okay, I'll do that. And I was like, holy shit, I made progress. And then I went in the kitchen to make her some coffee. And she's like, Michael, I'm sorry I was a bad mother. I was like, all right, well, we made no progress. It was, but.
Yeah, immediately, that's like that kind of thing of like, now I'm going to be the victim. You were mean to me. And instead of taking the licks and improving, that's a lot of people in society right now.
Yeah.
They do not want notes. They're just like, no, I'm perfect. Either tell me I'm perfect or don't tell me I'm anything.
Dude.
Because it's wild when you're like, well, you stink. You did something bad. And they go, I don't want to hear that. That's everybody. That's like when I see comics be like, oh, fucking haters, dude. Haters online. You go, sure. Sure. Sometimes, though, if you're smart enough, you can pull stuff from that. Dude, people all the time will be like, stop interrupting your guests. And at first I was like, shut the fuck up. And now I'm like, that was a great note. Great note. And sometimes this one guy like DM me. He was like, will you shut the fuck up and let your guests talk? Jesus fucking Christ. Something like, you just fucking blather on and da-da-da. And I was like, at the airport. I was bored. And I saw it. And I wrote back. I wrote, good note. Fucked up way to say it. You're a dick for that. But good note. Dude, immediately the guy was like, oh, shit, man. I'm so sorry. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm just in a bad mood right now. And I was like, hey, it's all good. You literally did give me the note is right. I should be better at listening and knowing when it's my turn to talk. But it was funny to watch because this guy, this is where I feel for the fan. This guy's a fan of stuff in a world where they don't take any notes. Where if you if you criticize someone, they go, you're a hater. What is it? Because he's got money, because you got bitches, and you're like, no. I have a genuine note. But now everyone's so frustrated that they're like, fuck you, I fucking hate you, do this. And then you just go, I think that's a good note. And then they go, I don't mean all that.
Yeah.
It's like when you fight with your chick, when you fight with your wife or girlfriend, and they're like, just do this. And then you get to the heart of it, and you go, oh, is it this? And they go, yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like humans are very complex, but at the same time, very simple. Sometimes it's just one thing that they want. And it's like, that's the importance of therapy to me, is that you can go in thinking something is a problem with this, and then you just have a trained professional to go, it might be because of this, and you go, that's exactly what it is. Ah, fuck, I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is the best example I have of that. Coming up, I'm obsessed with Chappelle. I'm obsessed with Louis. I'm obsessed with Burr. These are all the gods. These are the guys that I would just listen to albums. Same with Geraldo and Patrice, but they're dead. But these living guys, right? These guys, these true fucking titans that I've like grown up admiring on Mount Olympus. And it was like, if you were a New York comic in 2009 or 2010, there was this moment where Louis started going to alt shows a lot. He always did, specifically Cabin. English as a second language. And Facebook was very popular. And there was like a year to 2 years where you would open Facebook and someone's post would be like, sweaty bar show in Brooklyn. I'm really on my last rung. I have a set. I get off stage. A hand grabs my shoulder. It's Louis C.K. He tells me that's the funniest joke he's ever heard. And it's from people that are not funny, that I know are not funny. And you're like, fuck. And then Louis becomes friends with Joe List, who's one of my best friends. Then Chappelle becomes best friends with Michelle Wolf, one of my other best friends. And then Bill Burr is obsessed with Nate, another one of my best friends. And then Shane comes along and they all love Shane, right? And I have this thing where no one is going out of their way to tell me I'm funny. No one is stopping me. I'm not getting that Louis moment. I'm just doing sets and then Louis is like, hello, Louis became so close with Joe List that truly there was moments before he got canceled where he would treat me like a friend's dad that did not want me at the house. Like, that was the best way I could explain how Louis treated me.
Holy shit.
Louis would be like, hey. And then he'd be like talking to Joe, and I'd say something, and he'd be like, okay. This was before he got in trouble. And I'd be like, all right, man. And so then I start resenting Louis, and I start getting mad about it. But then I'm in therapy, and I bring it up. And my therapist goes, why do you care what any of these men think? And I go, well, they're great at comedy. And he goes, so what? Your friends are great at comedy. Mm-hmm. You don't care what they think this much. And then we find out, oh, this is all my dad.
Yeah.
I just wanted my dad to call me. Mm-hmm. I just wanted my dad to acknowledge his son and that he loved him. And the fucking second I figured that out, I don't give a fuck about Louis, Burr, or Chappelle. Chappelle, you're drinking too much. You're a fucking sot. Burr, why, you're the worst hang in comedy. I don't want to hang out with you. Every time I hang out with Burr, he's asking me why I said something. I go, I don't know, it's kind of rainy out. Is it rainy out? I don't know, Burr. You're just always growling. Have fun. So now I see him, I go, hey, Bill, how you doing? I don't fucking care. And Louis, he's a pervert. Why do I give a fuck what a pervert thinks? And what's funny about Louis is he's been so fucking cool to me now. Uh-huh. He's great. I did a show with him I think he's the greatest stand-up comedian of all time. I should say that. And we did a show in Boston the night before Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. Dude, Rainey, I would fantasize in 2011 about Louis being like, you're funny, come on the road with me. And then I got my dad. And then I got my dad. But it didn't happen. And then I have this breakthrough in therapy. And randomly, Joe List goes, are you in Boston for Thanksgiving? And I go, yeah.
Whoa, no way.
That's where Katie lives. Or that's where Katie's family's from. He goes, you in Boston coming up for Thanksgiving? I go, yeah. We're driving up to Framingham on fucking, we're going to be there all week. And he's like, oh, fucking do this show with Louis and I. It's me, Louis, and Sarah, his wife, Joe's wife. And he's like, we're doing this fucking jazz club in Cambridge. And I was like, that'd be fucking sick. I'm not friends with Louis. I don't know him that well. But I tell Katie, I go, you want to go do the show? And she's, yeah, it'd be fucking sick. I go. Louis like, all right, I'm going to go up. I'm going to host. And then I'm going to bring Sarah, then Dan, then Joe or whatever. The show's white hot. It's unbelievable. It's like 75 people. Everyone's fucking stoked to be there. And I get like, I was a surprise guest. I got like a pop. Like people were surprised to see me. Mm-hmm. And then I had a fucking great set. And I was so like, I get off stage, and Louis is like, fucking unbelievable. He's like, that's fucking unbelievable. He's like, and then he's telling, when I was on stage, Joe told me, he's like, I've never seen this guy. And Joe's like, you should watch comedy once in a while. There's people that are pretty good on it. But what I told my therapist was, I'd been begging for that moment since fucking 2006 when I became obsessed with Louis. All I wanted was, and what was more important to me in that moment was Joe List. Because Joe goes, I fucking love this bit, and I love this bit. It's been one of my dogs since 2007. So I'm like, oh, fuck, you like that joke? Mm-hmm. And then it becomes where we always are, where it's same as it was at an open mic. That's funny. You should do that. And you go, I respect you. You think that's funny? Yeah. And it was like, I told Katie on the drive home, I was like, if you would have told me that Louis would have been blown away by my stand-up, but I was more obsessed with what Joe List was saying to me. And it's like, that's where it is. That's like the growth you got to get to, is realizing that there's all these little small things that aren't the problems that you think are the problem. And then you follow the cord and you find what the root problem is and you pull it and you go, well, these aren't problems anymore.
Fuck, man.
You just pull the root. And the root was, I miss my dad. I wish my dad loved me. I put him on a pedestal, and I put the heroes of comedy on a pedestal, and no one should be on a pedestal because everyone's a fucking human being. And you like learn that, and it just makes everything just so much more simple because you just go like, this reaction I'm having isn't the reaction to what's happening. It's a reaction to what's happening 35 years ago or 30 years ago in my head with my dad. And you just don't realize that it's fucking you up. Dude, I would be mad. Dude, I remember driving to the Pittsburgh Improv. This is like fucking 2020, maybe 2021. And Shane calls me, and I'm like, a long drive from the airport to the Pittsburgh Improv. And I'm in a cab. And he's just telling me, like, he was in London with Chappelle. And Chappelle's like, you got to understand something. You're the next guy. And he is. Mm-hmm. Shane's our Adam Sandler. He is the next guy. He's inevitable. But in my head, I'm like, oh, Chappelle's dadding on you? And then you don't even realize I'm not upset at all about that. I'm upset of like, I miss my dad. I just wanted my dad to tell me I love you. So you want to unlock that, and that was like probably one of the best epiphanies I've had of the last like 3 or 4 years.
Dude, I'm going to be thinking about the words pull the root for the rest of the
Pull
fucking
the root,
day.
dude. You pull the root and you don't realize how much fucking easier shit is. Like, it truly is easier. Like, all the intimacy stuff I had to go through with Katie when we first started dating to be in a relationship. I mean, you've been in a long marriage with, like, kids. You had to learn. I kind of was, like, faluting around, you know? I was, like, just coming in like a bee and then leaving and then coming back and being like... But finally, when I went through a real relationship, I was like, oh, shit. You have to be connected. You have to, like, understand who this... You have to listen. You have to know who this person is. And it just was like, I'm incredibly lucky I got to do it with the person I'm going to marry, you know?
Dude, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
Like I told her today, like while we were walking around, it's like, I have the hardest part figured out.
Yeah.
Which is like, I found you, and that's, there's nobody else I want. There's nobody else.
Yeah. And it's possible for everybody.
Yes, I think so too.
But
man.
I also think a lot of people are dating with unrealistic expectations. I think a lot of people, the way that shit's sold right now, Match.com, fucking all these apps, is they're like, you're going to find the perfect fit. You're not. But you're going to find someone that... My friend Mike, one of my best friends, said this to me a long time ago, where he was like, find what's most important to you in a relationship and go after that. For me, I always loved intelligence and humor. Like, I need that. Way before I need you to be like the hottest fucking bitch in the world. I need you to be smart, and I need you to be funny and caring. I just need those things.
Yeah.
And once you find it, you go like, the rest is all fucking bells and whistles. It's like having a car and you're mad it doesn't have, you know, like fucking seat warmers. And you're like, you'll get over that. If the car works, that's the most important part. But people don't do that. They go like, I want everything on this. And you go, you can't. Or else it's going to fuck up something else. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of shit.
How soon into your relationship did you understand that? That's what you wanted?
COVID.
That's what...
I was dating her for like fucking 6 months, and then we got locked together. And it took me like over a year of COVID, of being literally locked in the same apartment with her, to be like, there's times I tried to leave for like not good reasons. Like, you know what I mean? Like, did you delete the Futurama off the DVR? I'm fucking packing a suitcase and shit. And she's like, what the fuck is this? Because I was mentally trying to find a way out all the time, because it's harder to sit in it and learn. But then I was like, I just was so in love with her that after a while I was like, what are you doing, dude? And that was like in therapy and talking and like, you know, then you're like, okay, this is me. Most of the time, this is the best advice I can give anybody. Most of the time, it's you. It's your fault. Most of the time. There are times it's other people's faults and you can get mad at the guy in traffic or whatever. But most of the time, just check down. Always do a check down. Go, is it me? And if it is, it's easier to solve. And that should also give you hope that you go, I can fucking solve it because it's my problem. Like the dad thing was like, oh, duh. I've never jocked dudes. I was never, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't care about fame. I don't care about that shit. I care about people who do stuff well. I love that and respect that. So that was my pedestal, you know? Like I wasn't like in comedy, you see people that are clearly just like want to be famous.
That's gross.
It is gross. But to them, it isn't. To them, it's like, no, this is my validation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you go like, it's not there though. That's fake.
Yeah.
But they got to see that. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's like, I think like just life's very hard. Life is just very, very, very hard. But it's also very, very rewarding if you learn how to appreciate shit.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because the last question I want to ask you is, what are you most grateful for right now?
Health. I'm healthy. My legs work, my arms work, my mouth works. I don't have cancer. I don't have a heart condition. I don't have a brain condition. Like, I think that's something that fucking people overlook immediately. You know, I don't have this in my career. I don't have that. It's like, you walked in here.
Yeah.
You know, like I live in New York. I see quadriplegics. And you're like, how the fuck do you live in this city? The city's hard when you're fully functional, let alone stuck in a wheelchair. Or like you see a kid that breathes through a straw and makes his move, you know, like you're just like, fuck, man. How many drunken nights I fell off a trampoline and hit my neck, but I was drunk and I bounced right back up, you know, and it could have been like, I think about that all the time, just like health, just breathing in and out. And I've had food poisoning recently, and that'll make you go like, I appreciate every day I don't have food poisoning. where I'm not just throwing up my lunch for fucking 16 hours. But I would say number one is health. And then number two is just the people around me. I'm fucking so blessed to have just some of the greatest human beings that ever walked the planet around me. You know, including my fiance, but my friends that I grew up with, my mom, my family, my cousin on my dad's side, Lisa, who I got close to. I love her. She's just so sweet. And I just love being in her life and touching down and hanging out with her kids and just having a family that I didn't really feel like I had. My cousins on my mom's side, I love them. I just am like my friends, my family, my fiance, and my health are just like everything else is a game.
Yes.
Everything else is just, you know, it's all a game. And so if you get over that, then you go like, I'm not really worried about anything. You know, did it suck performing at a half-sold show in Burlington? Yeah, but that's ego. I don't give a fuck. It was still ripped. Those people that were there are like, damn, dude, I saw a fucking hell of a show. It was half full. You know what I mean? And it was like, I think we get caught up in ego, and I think the internet and the way, like the vultures that fuck with us, they go all off ego. So if you can learn how to separate that, they're not really that powerful.
God damn, Dan. Dude, I could talk to you all fucking day, man.
Yeah,
and
I didn't even smoke weed today.
Dude,
yet.
you're fucking spitting today, man.
I haven't got high yet. I would have gone. It would have gone off the rails, and I'd be like, I just feel like the Intercontinental Championship doesn't get the respect it used to. It was the working man's title for forever.
Oh, dude, we started at permanent wiggers and ended up with the meaning of life, man.
Yeah, meaning of life, dude. I don't know, man.
Damn,
I think it's like heaven or hell. If that doesn't exist or it doesn't, I just think like life is pretty fucking special, and I think it's very rare. I think it's like a lot of people, you know, I think like a lot of people get killed and shit doing dumb stuff. And it's just like, I'm lucky I've made it this far.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. So I'm going to make it, hopefully, you know, I wouldn't mind clocking out around 80.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good spot.
The good Lord.
Yeah.
The good Lord lets me.
How do you want to go?
On a farm.
Just tractor accident?
That would be sick. I wouldn't mind that, but I would feel bad for the cleanup. Heart attack in my sleep. Not in a hotel. In my house. Mm-hmm. And hopefully after my wife. You know, I've buried enough people that I wouldn't want her to bury me. I'd want to bury her. And then I would drink very, very hard.
Oh, baby.
I'd drink and I would smoke cigarettes. Mm-hmm. And then just my dogs would eat my face.
Now, do you want one of those Wigger funerals where they position you playing video games?
Oh, yeah, where I got a fucking flat brim Niner hat on. Holding the PS1, holding the Dreamcast controller. Nah, man, I'll fucking just put me to sea. Cremate me, and then toss me where Candlestick Park used to be.
Oh, it's the dream, baby.
Shout out. Go Niners.
Dan, I can't thank you enough, man. You're the fucking man.
You're the man, Rainey.
What do you want to promote?
The Golden Retriever Tour. I am on the biggest tour of my life. Really starts up in September. DanSoder.com for tickets. If you're in Red Bank, New Jersey, I'm going to be at the Count Basie Center June 6th. Those tickets are close to sold out. It's a fucking cool ass room. It'd be sick to sell that out. And then it starts in September, Los Angeles, Portland, DanSoder.com. It's all there. And then listen to Soder, the podcast, and the regs.
Hell yes. Thank you, everybody, for checking out Getting Some Head with special guest Dan Soder. Plenty of other episodes available now. The most recent episode is with my dear friend Tim Butterly.
Woo!
The funniest fucking guy on the planet.
He's the best.
Dude, it's I love him more than I love anybody else on the planet.
He's the best. He's the best. He's so funny. You guys are fucking great. Dad Meet was one of the best times I ever did when I came down to Philly.
Oh, man, we love it.
And I wish you nothing but success in Austin.
Thank you, brother.
Wear your sunscreen.
From your mouth to God's ears. So check out more Getting Some Head. And if you're inclined, you can support the show by going to patreon.com/gettingsomehead. New episodes every week and bonus content every week as well. Dan, thanks again, brother.
Yeah, dude.
See you next time.